Hello, I am Miss Beth, and I will tell you about a holiday in China and Taiwan that's called Tomb Sweeping Day. It's one of the most important and popular holidays in the culture. My sources are Wikipedia, About News Chinese Culture, Cultural China, and China Highlights. And I also have a total of 3 videos that I've taken from YouTube. Here is a picture of Qingming Festival, which is another name of Tomb Sweeping Day. Also, here are 4 pictures of Tomb Sweeping Day. And as you can see, it's related to the death of someone in the family. And you can see they get flowers and flags on their graves of people in the family. And also in this picture, you see someone bowing almost to a grave. And I'll explain that later. Okay, so in this lesson, you will learn a lot about Tomb Sweeping Day, including an introduction. And in that, I tell you a little bit of the names of Tomb Sweeping Day. Then I will answer each of these questions. What is Tomb Sweeping Day? When is the holiday? Where is it celebrated? Why is it celebrated? Who celebrates it? How is it celebrated? Lastly, I'll give you some history of the origin of the holiday, and I have some related notes. And also there's some related artwork that is famous with and is associated with this holiday. First, the introduction. This holiday has many names. For example, Tomb Sweeping Day, such as the title of this lecture. It's also called Tomb Sweeping Festival. It's also called Qingming Festival or Qingming Day. Chinese is Qingming Jie. And the translation of Qingming Jie is Pure Brightness Festival. It's also called a Chinese Memorial Day, Ancestors Day, and Da Qing Festival. What is Tomb Sweeping Day? I'll answer that question first. It is a traditional Chinese festival. It's an opportunity for people to remember and honor deceased family members at grave sites. It's one of the most important and popular days of the culture. And it's an opportunity for people to go outside and enjoy the beautiful weather because it's in the early spring. When is Tomb Sweeping Day? Tomb Sweeping Day is a 1-day holiday on the 15th day after the spring equinox. So it's usually in the beginning of April. For example, last year in 2014, it was April 5th. This year, in 2015, it was also April 5th. And next year, in 2016, it will be April 4th. However, in Taiwan, it's celebrated on April 5th every year. Why? Because one of the founding fathers, Chiang Kai-shek, he died on April 5th in 1975. So it's a day to also remember him. And this holiday began early in the Zhou dynasty, some 2,500 years ago. Where is the holiday celebrated? That's the next question. It is celebrated in Taiwan, mainland China, Hong Kong, Macau. Also, wherever ethnically Chinese people live, they also celebrate it in that location, especially Singapore and Malaysia. Why is it celebrated? It's an opportunity for families to visit grave sites of ancestors who have passed away. In this time, they give respect and actually worship their ancestors. It's a time to clean their tombstone, and it's a family outing to enjoy the beautiful spring weather. How is it celebrated? There are many activities related to this festival, and there's a specific order that is done to them that you will find out in my explanation. So these activities the family does when they visit the tombstone of their ancestor. First they pray, then they may sweep or clean and fix the tombstone on the gravesite. They would offer food, tea, wine, chopsticks, and ghost money to ancestors. I will explain the ghost money later. They may fly kites after that. They may go outside and play games, activities, go for a walk, play tug of war, swing on swing sets, just to enjoy the beautiful weather. And here's the order of activities. First, they remove weeds from the gravesite, sweep, clean, and repair it. Secondly, they would light incense sticks and offer food and ghost money. Now let me explain to you the ghost money. The ghost money is paper money, kind of like money that you would play with in a game, like Monopoly or something. But they burn it in a fire. Why? Because they believe their ancestors will receive this money when they burn it because their ancestors are in a supernatural spiritual world similar to Earth. And so in this world, they need a car, they need money, they need a house, and so on. So they prepare the money and then they burn it as a way to give it to their ancestors where they are. And they bow in respect and worship of their ancestors. They may offer fresh flowers and plant trees. Afterwards, after they do the giving of money and of food, they may have a picnic at the gravesite. They may walk together in the countryside and enjoy the springtime weather. While they're on the walk, people may wear willow twigs or willow leaves. Why? Because they believe it could keep away the ghosts. And if an ancestor does not have a gravesite because of the limited size in Asia and the growing population in Asia as well, family members may honor and worship their ancestor at the ancestral altar, which is inside the home. And as you can see here, two pictures. This is a picture of the gravesite with the food, tea, and incense sticks and flowers placed before the ancestor as a way to give it to them. And then in this picture, you see them burning the money, the ghost money. Okay, now let me tell you the history of this holiday. It originated from the Cold Food Festival, which is also called the Hanshi Festival. And this festival was established by Zhong-er, Duke Wen of Jin. This festival remembers Jin Zitui, Jin's loyal follower when he was in exile. Okay, this was the situation and the setting of the story. Okay, Zhong-er becomes a duke in the royal palace. Okay, Jie resigned from the royal palace because he felt he wasn't needed. So Duke Wen, when he was a duke, he was very generous. He rewarded those who had helped him. However, he kind of passed over Jie, who was living in a forest with his mother. In 636 BC, Duke Wen went to the forest where Jie and his mother were living, but he couldn't find Jie. Next, in order to find Jie and to bring him out of the forest, Duke ordered a fire to be set, thinking that to save his own life, Jie would run out of the forest with his mother. Unfortunately, though, that did not happen, and Jie and his mother died in the fire. So because the Duke felt so strong remorse and sympathy, he ordered 3 days without fire to honor Jie's death and his memory. So at that time, they needed fire to eat and cook their food. So In the 3 days they didn't light a fire, their food was cold, hence the name Cold Food Festival. And even to this day, there's a city where the forest was, where Jie lived with his mother, and the city is still called Jieshi, Jie's Rest. Now here's kind of a modern, more original story of the Tomb Sweeping Day, and it is similar to how it is celebrated today. And the modern meaning of Tomb Sweeping Day is Tang Emperor Xuanzong. At the time, wealthy citizens were holding too many extravagant, expensive ceremonies to honor their ancestors and to honor their dead. In AD 732, Emperor Xuanzong sought to decrease the amount of these extravagant, expensive ceremonies. So he declared that respects should only be paid one time a year, and that being on Qiming Jie, or Tomb Sweeping Day. Now, this holiday is also important to the tea industry. How? Why? It is related to when the tea leaves are picked from the tea plant. So if the tea leaves are picked before Tomb Sweeping Day, it is called pre-Qiming, and it's more expensive, and it has a more subtle aroma than tea leaves that are picked after Tomb Sweeping Day. Also, there's some related artwork that is associated with Tomb Sweeping Day. The first one is a famous painting called Along the River. It are also called the Qiming Scroll by Zhuang Ziduan. It's an ancient Chinese painting that portrays the Kaifeng city during a Tomb Sweeping Day. It is very long. It is more than 11 meters long and 37 centimeters wide. It includes more than 4,000 people. So it is very intricate and detailed. Here are two pictures of the Qiming Scroll, but they don't do it justice, really, to appreciate the beauty of it. So, also there's one famous poem called Qiming, and it's written by Du Mu. This is the traditional Chinese of this poem, and then also this is the pinyin. And pinyin is it's the Chinese language, but each sound is spelled with English letters. So it's a way and it's a structure to help foreigners or to help Western people learn Chinese. So let me try to say it, if you will. Okay. 齐名世界与纷纷，路上显然与短途。结婚家和出游，牧场要是新华村。And here is the English translation of that poem. And as you could read right now, it is in remembrance of Tomb Sweeping Day. Okay, now we will watch a video of a family that is celebrating Tomb Sweeping Festival. So now let's watch the video. Okay, this video is a family that's celebrating Tomb Sweeping Day. They are ethnically Chinese living abroad. So let's watch their whole journey from going to the gravesite, performing the ceremony that I talked about earlier, and just watching and to see what a traditional ethnically Chinese family does. So let's watch.
My great-grandfather was a wealthy merchant and he had 5 wives, and my family came from the 3rd wife. When they died sometime between the 1930s and 1940s, they were buried in the grounds of Bukit Brown. I only found out that my great-grandparents were buried in Bukit Brown a few years ago due to the announcement of the new construction of the highway that would go through the cemetery. The first time I ever visited my great-grandparents' grave was last year. The whole area is very untouched, a lot of mature trees, a lot of wildlife. It's pretty much like a very dense forest. So I can see why so many people came forward to protest against the construction of the highway. But on the other hand, a lot of the cemetery is also very poorly maintained. There were many graves that were seemingly forgotten. They were overgrown with weeds. Some of them were just looking really worn out. Graves that are higher up would cost more than graves that are on lower ground. The further up you go, the more elaborate the graves become. So even in the afterlife, I think they believe in this hierarchy. My great-grandfather, he's buried on a very steep hill. When my grandmother was still alive, she would actually climb the hills of Bukit Brown in her sarong kebaya to pay her respects to her parents every year during the Qingming festival. When she was no longer able to do this, my aunties and uncles carried on the tradition, and they've been doing this for the past 50 years.
是姓 something Shan, got bombed off. 之中
Something long, I think.
His tombstone has the names of his 5 wives and all of his children, but part of the tombstone has been damaged, and my uncle thinks that it was damaged during the Japanese occupation. So there are 3 parts to the ceremony, and the first part is the grave sweeping aspect. So this is where we would clean the tombstone and remove any weeds. And then the second aspect would be the prayer aspect. So my uncle would light up joss sticks, and we would stick the joss sticks in the ground. And then members of the family would come around and take turns to offer their prayers to our ancestors. When you're done with the first 2 parts, then you would give your offerings to your ancestors. This can be in the form of food, or paper money, or paper houses. My great-grandmother was a Peranakan lady, so this year my auntie brought some paper sarong kebayas to burn as a form of offering. So the idea is that these goods would be received by the ancestors in the afterlife. These days I know that some shops, they make paper iPads and paper Mercedes-Benzes for people to burn as offerings. So at the end of the entire ceremony, the family members would gather around the tomb and we would throw up these coloured paper in the air, shouting to the heavens for blessings. In the modern-day Qingming ceremony, I get a sense that there is so much emphasis on material offerings and also the expectation to be blessed with wealth and luck in return. And I think that's very far away from the original meaning of the Qingming festival. I think my family still keeps up with the tradition because my grandmother did it quite religiously while she was still able to do so. The cousins in my generation find the whole ceremony quite amusing. It's kind of like a little adventure that we embark on at 7 a.m. in the morning once a year. This notion of paying respects to your ancestors is one of the fundamentals of Confucianism, which is what the Chinese society is built upon. But you actually tend to see less of the next generation joining in, and it's quite sad if you think about it because the Qingming festival has a history that spans over 2,000 years. I think in the next few generations, my great-grandfather's grave would probably be forgotten, just like majority of the graves in Bukit Brown. Either that or it will be exhumed because of a major redevelopment project by the government. We'll see which one will happen first.
Welcome back. Wasn't that an interesting video of what a family does to celebrate Tomb Sweeping Day? Now let's watch a video that scans the beautiful painting along the river. It's about a 3-minute video set to music, so I will explain and describe the parts of the painting during the video. So now let's look at the painting along the river. This is a beautiful along the river painting. As you can see, it's scanning the river with many trees and houses. People are moving their cows to prepare for Tomb Sweeping Festival. As you can see, it's very intricate and delicate with lots of detail. All in all, about 4,000 people are in this painting. So again, people are making preparations for the biggest festival of the year. Watching the bridge, looking at the bridge and the people walking over the bridge, that's one of my favorite parts. You see a boat moving along the river. Again, more people making preparations and doing work to prepare for this holiday and even on the holiday. And this is an ancient Chinese city in Kaifeng, so they're dressed differently, of course, and their livelihood and civilization looks a lot different. The houses are small, so it truly depicts what life was like on Tomb Sweeping Day at that time. Again, up to 4,000 people in this painting. And all of the activity is along the river. So the river was a very important time and very important place for the city. That looks like to be the palace. And there is the painting called Along the River. Okay, now we'll watch another video of a dance that is based on Along the River painting. It's performed by a dance troupe, Asian dance troupe, and it's based upon the painting. So now let's watch this video. this is the end of my presentation about Tomb Sweeping Day. I hope you have enjoyed it. I hope you have seen, have learned about the holiday, but also have seen a glimpse into the Chinese culture and learn that they value their family, they value their ancestors a lot, and that value is very deep in the culture. So I hope you have received a glimpse about the whole Chinese culture. Thank you for watching.